Hello and welcome to Cory's Corner. That was my verbal expression of stress this morning because that's our main topic. Happy Mental Health Monday. At least it is today for me. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well today. It's well into October now. Spooktober is officially hitting the fucking road, I guess you could say. I mean, a lot of people are ignoring it. There's not as many Spooktober memes. It's kind of sad. But oh well. I will start doing some horror movie reviews here soon. I'm going to get one recorded today and hopefully released tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. Sorry, had some stuff in my throat. It was super bad. Let's say hi to the chat, shall we? So we have Vince Womack. Greetings and salutations. And of course, Nate D. Hail, Nate D. How's it going, y'all? Hope you're doing well today. Also, Snail Messiah. He says, hello. Hope you're all doing amazingly well. Indeed. Every person in the world is familiar with stress, ladies and gentlemen. And I got to tell you, from my personal opinion, the main reason that stress is a major problem for a lot of people is because they don't know how to prioritize it. Prioritizing stress. Yeah, that sounds weird as hell, right? Well, it's a legit thing. It's a legit thing you need to figure out. Hail to Josiah Robinson. He says, hail, Cory, tuning in while doing Swedish lessons. Good luck, bro. Swedish is supposedly one of the most challenging languages to learn. So, hail and more power to you, bro. And of course, hail to John Edgar. Wonderful to see you here. Today we're talking about stress, and primarily I'm going to be focusing on what prioritizing stress actually means to me, and hopefully it'll help some people at some point. And we'll try not to get too sidetracked because Vince Womack already brought up food. He's making Chinese food, and that sounds so good right now. Man, that Chinese food, give me some like General Tao or some like some mushu with those little like those little tortillas / taco shell pancake things that, oh my gosh, mushu is so good. Anyway, hey, Vince Womack says he posted a kinda Halloween meme. We'll look at that in a minute. Snail Messiah says, I went down with stress. Working as a chef is stressful, but does not trigger my stress responses. It's more of a zen feeling. Indeed. And we'll get into that in just a moment, I promise. I know I keep bouncing around and stuff, but honestly, it's because I'm still kind of tired. Ooh. Well, here comes an NSFW. I didn't want to push that button. Halloween meme. Yeah. Warning to all you children out there, here comes a hot ass. Oh, yeah. My guy instinct, she doesn't have candy. It's a trap. My dick, she has candy. Word. Word. That's a great meme. For a lot of different reasons. But anyway. So, prioritizing stress just to stay focused as much as possible with my ADHD rattled brain just to prioritize stress. What does this mean? It means figuring out exactly what stress is yours. And I know that sounds strange, but 90%, I will go out on a limb here and say 90% of the stress that we deal with doesn't come from us. Okay? 60% of the stress that we deal with is completely unnecessary stress. It comes from other people, it comes from the news, it comes from social media, it comes from things that we ourselves don't typically have control over. And this is one of the things that we as people need to do a better job of recognizing and dealing with. Hail to Sean Landrigan. It is wonderful to see you, sir. And to start prioritizing your stress a little bit, you need to start with some introspection, which I go over here and there quite a bit. You need to look inward and figure out what exactly is in your wheelhouse of control. And if you can't control it, and I know this is easier said than done, don't stress about it. And over on the Rumble side, hail to Cremator. What is up, my friend? At least I'm assuming you're my friend since you haven't actually gone on the attack about anything. Safe bet, right? But, all right. So if the stress is outside your personal locus of control, then it's unnecessary stress. Okay. That being said, your feelings getting hurt by something some random person says on the internet is a source of unnecessary stress that you elect to carry on your shoulders. And of course, this boils down to you choosing that as a stress source. And yes, I am blaming you if you get triggered by people on social media. Yeah, legit. Vince Womack knows Marcus Aurelius. Fuck the word. Word. 100%. And so Marcus Aurelius, as Vince brought up, is the architect for many of my thought patterns. Many, not all. I am a very diverse person. But that being said, he says that the main thing you have control over in your life is how you react to anything. So if you choose to become stressed over something, which is what's happening with social media a lot, then you're electing to have that stress in your life. Okay? And if you have stress in your life, you don't feel so great. So you're choosing to feel like shit. And that's going to be hard for a lot of people to grasp and to accept that they are responsible for their own stress levels, but it's true. It's not your mom's fault that she keeps nagging you about homework. It's your fault for not doing the fucking homework, right? But there are certain stresses that are out of our control, but do directly affect us. For instance, stress at work, money, things like that. Say your job gets shut down and you can't work for a little while, right? That is incredibly stressful, but you still have control over that stress. Okay? You can prioritize that stress by creating a clear way to deal with it, as can be done with all sources of stress. When it comes to the work thing, you find supplementary income. I know it seems hard right now, but trust me, everybody's fucking hiring, and they're all paying way more than we ever made as kids. So you could easily go out and find something part-time. Find a temp agency. It doesn't really matter where you find it. Just find it. If you choose to sit there and stew on the stress, then you choose to worsen your mood, worsen your day. You have to be able to compartmentalize, detach, and focus. One of the main causes of stress in anybody's life is other people, okay? And this is a tricky subject because other people are both inside your wheelhouse of control and outside of it. Really strange. John Edgar says, I do wish I could more logically manage stress. I have an anxiety condition with PTSD and other issues, but you're right. These days there is always work of some kind. Anxiety condition and PTSD. Okay. These are two, I will call them separate phenomenons because they do have different impacts on different people. But when they're together, it's a super huge nightmare of stupid bullshit. Okay. We'll just put it that way. Now, when you have an anxiety condition and PTSD, everything in the world can seem challenging. And the triggers that might set off your anxiety and PTSD responses may vary. They may stay consistent, stuff like that. the best thing you can do to manage anxiety with PTSD and in an anxiety disorder is to learn your triggers, learn your proper coping mechanisms, and learn when it's becoming unmanageable. Now, this is the hard part for most people with anxiety and PTSD. Hail to the lovely Sherry. Because when PTSD and anxiety response kick in, it overwhelms you. It triggers the emotional portion of your brain, shuts down the prefrontal cortex, and just basically rams it home like Ron Jeremy. And this generates issues in and of itself. But when you're managing these things, if you don't have a support structure in place, you need to start doing mindfulness exercises. Okay. Deep breathing to try and control your heart rate, thought stopping to stop intrusive and destructive thoughts from coming in and dominating. And that's literally, it's as simple as it sounds, but it's hard to implement. But we won't dive too deep into that. What we're talking about today is just a general stress. Okay. And when stress comes from other people, as I said earlier, it's both within your wheelhouse of control and outside of your wheelhouse of influence. So how that works is, say you're dealing with someone who's been confrontational, stressful, combative, and kind of a douchebag, right? And you don't have much choice but to put up with this person. Say they're a coworker that you have absolutely no ability to get away from, et cetera, et cetera. You have to recognize where your control in that situation lies, and you have to develop a fuck it attitude. And I know that's really hard for a lot of people, but when someone's being a dipshit, you can't stop them from being a dipshit. Recognize that that's someone else's problem. When you're the boss, you can do shit about it. When you're not, you can't do shit about it. You can report it and you can go through all this shit and you can stew on it and et cetera, et cetera. Or you can learn that that person is going to fuck themselves and it's not your problem. Okay? And if nothing else, and they're unbearable and all this other stuff, there's always the choice of escaping the situation. I know that also sounds very challenging, but it's not. Walk the fuck away. Doesn't matter what the fuck you're in the middle of or anything like that, as long as it's not a dangerous situation where you have to stay in place for the other person's safety as well. Just leave. Just fuck it. I'm going outside. And trust me, if your manager is a human being, they'll understand that. If they don't understand that you need to leave in order to save your own mental health, then they too can get fucked. Snail Messiah says, I did Buddhist training for a long while. Saves my ass with stress, depression, and other things. I still get all those, but I can handle it. It just takes energy. And that's the thing. Most of the time, stress isn't about elimination. You're not eliminating sources of stress. You're not eliminating the stress itself. You're learning to manage it and deal with it. And that's the challenge that most people run into, is they don't know how to manage stress, especially when it's constantly piling up on them. Okay. And we've all been there. Little things stack up and then you're like, ah! But you really don't want to get to the screaming like a girl part. But John Edgar says, Cory, that was probably the most helpful advice I've heard, including from therapists I've talked to. That's because most therapists are fucking worthless. As a person who's trained in mental health counseling, I will tell you, therapists, 80% of the time, fucking worthless, especially when it comes to stress and anxiety. You know why? Because they themselves are gigantic balls of stress, and they have absolutely no idea how to fucking handle it. Now, you can do mindfulness breathing. That's totally fine. You can there's a lot of ways to handle stress, and one of the primary ways that I've seen people handling stress lately is to fucking lose their minds. Okay, I know I cuss a lot. It turns a lot of people off. Whatever. But anyway, you should not break under stress. That's a complicated thing, and we'll get there. John Edgar says, "You're damn right they are." Hail to low spec Linux laptop. I'm still surprised I get through your name without messing it up, but I can't say Landrigan's backwards. Anyway, when it boils down to it, you have 100% of control over this. It doesn't feel like it. And this is, of course, staying within the realms of normal functioning, not something that's along the lines of PTSD, where it occasionally has control over you. I'm talking about normal stress responses. Like you want to punch your boss in the face. Or if you're a parent, you want to punch your kids in the face. I'm not saying you should, but every parent has wanted to punch their kid in the face at one point or another. And if you haven't, then you don't spend enough time with your kids. But anyway, the reality of stress is that you get to choose what you're stressed about. All right. And you have to prioritize this list. Figure out what's important to you and whether or not it's worth the stress. For me, my priorities of stress go family, work, me, money, and other people. You notice how money is a little bit lower down on the list, but still above other people? That's because everybody stresses about money, but we do what we can about it. Everybody stresses about other people. I've elected to do the only thing that actually works, and that's not care. That's really challenging to say, but you have to realize you're not required to care about any other person in this world, other than those you choose to care about. You're not required to care about their opinion. You're not required to care about their lives. Okay, what they do for work, what they like, who they see, what kind of sexual proclivities they have. It doesn't matter. None of that is your problem. Of course, if you're one of these people who thinks you have to convert the entire world to a specific religion or some crazy shit like that, then your stress is way off the fucking charts because you're choosing too much. But anyway, I need a drink. You have to be able to prioritize. All right. My family comes first on my stress list because they are my priority. Okay. And when you're prioritizing your stress list, it also has to be listed by order of what you can control in your life. And I know it sounds strange. I can control my family better than anything else. When I say that, I mean I have the capability of managing their stress with them far better than most people. Most people have trouble managing stress on their own, and they need someone else to help them. That is normal. That is completely normal. It's completely acceptable. But anyway, managing stress alone is stressful in and of itself because you have no outlet. And that's the real key to dealing with stress, is having an outlet. Now, your outlets can literally be anything. Hopefully they're constructive outlets that you would find on a self-care list somewhere and a stress management schedule that you build for yourself, but probably not. All right. I comfort eat. I suck on this bitch like it's fucking oxygen. And, you know, I occasionally lose my shit and break things. You can see how some of those are destructive, you know, possibility of lung cancer, overeating bad things, causing my digestion or overall health to go. When you lose your shit, that's typically a last result kind of thing. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you, which I'm hoping most people already understand, is that burdens that are shared are half as heavy. And yes, Vince, hit the gym. We will touch on that in just a moment. But like I said, a burden shared is half as heavy. It sounds strange to say that, but if you have someone who's even just a sounding board where you can go to them and you can vent without unjustly using them, then it's automatically easier to deal with your stress. If you don't have another person to vent to, this is where my knowledge comes in. And you have to be very careful with what I'm about to talk about, because it can be both emotionally charging and emotionally destructive if you don't manage it correctly. Managing what I'm about to talk about correctly often involves mindfulness exercises, okay? Deep belly breathing, where you breathe deeply, like in through your nose or mouth, all the way down to your diaphragm bottom, as much as you can get it going up or get it full. You know what I mean? And breathing back out in a very controlled manner. But for those of you who do not have a person to vent to, Gestalt therapy from Fritz Perls gave us this wonderful tool called the empty chair technique. Typically, the empty chair technique is done with and under the supervision of a trained professional. But you can do a basic empty chair technique and vent out all your bullshit on your own without too much risk if you keep in mind your goal. Okay. And I'm trying to keep my own thoughts rolling smoothly here. Not an easy task when you're me. All right. It's just not. Oh, since I somehow devolved into this accent, I'm just going to go ahead and say that the world has officially declared the New York accent as being the least attractive accent in the entire world. All right. Now that we've said that, okay. So the empty chair technique is quite literally what it sounds like. You get an empty chair and you set it down. Okay. And then in your head, you're going to start visualizing the people and, sounds strange, events that make you stressed being in that chair. Okay. It's a lot like the burn the letters technique. Write the letter, seal it, burn it. You get the feelings out, etc., etc. Now, here's where things get tricky. All right. If you're good at visualizing and you're able to see, say, your crazy ass mom in that chair, right? And of course, I'm using the mother as an example just to stay on par with Freud. But you see her in that chair. Okay. Visualizing, imagining her being in that chair. You then tell her all the things that you're stressed about regarding her. Of course, if your mom's in the house with you, you might not want to do that when she's around, because it'll turn into a full chair session and then it turns into a lecture. Everybody loves lectures when they're stressed, right? No. But you let it out on the chair. All right. You may feel crazy at first. It may seem crazy at first, but the empty chair technique allows for you to get the emotions and the stress out from here and off of here and out into the universe so that they are not actually your burden anymore. Some people, if you're religious, can substitute empty chair for prayer time. And that is also beneficial for those who have faith and are believers and rely on that sort of thing. It is very helpful. It is the same result as the empty chair technique, but with the empty chair technique, you're focusing specifically on a single source of stress being in the chair. Okay. Let's say it's your job. I know that's a weird visualization. Your job is sitting in a fucking chair right in front of you. It's not allowed to say anything. It's not allowed to judge you. It's not allowed to do anything. It's not. But you know what? You can let it out. You can just, and of course, probably not do this in a restaurant or somewhere that has chairs available, but maybe in your own house, in a basement somewhere, locked shed, soundproof room, whatever. It does work. And the reason that this is dangerous is because if you let the empty chair get too deep, then you have to be able to wrangle your emotions back in to be able to get on with the rest of your day. So you don't want to visualize and attack anything too big if you have other things you need to take care of in a day. All right. Now, the empty chair technique is one of the things you can do. The burned letters technique is another thing you can do. But there's a lot of ways to minimize the effects stress has on you, one of which Vince Womack brought up: hit the gym. And I know everybody cliched, exercise does the body good. It does. It does. But it does the mind, the heart, and the soul good as well. Now, normally, I don't talk about like what you should do exercise-wise, because obviously I am not Mr. Muscle Man or whatever, right? But I'll hit the broken record. Okay. Yoga. All of the tension that you feel, all of the stress that you collect builds up on your shoulders, in your neck, and down your back, including your lower back. So, yoga. When your muscles are stressed and they're pained and they're cramping and it's stupid and you hate the world and you want to rage, find a session of yoga that you can do. Don't push yourself beyond your limits and do it. Because as they say over at hasfit.com, here on YouTube and on their website, the mind doesn't have to be there for the body to do what it does. The body doesn't care if the mind is motivated, to use a direct quote from them. It will do it no matter what. And getting rid of the physical stress will actually help your emotions level out a little bit so you can rationally handle the stress that's internal. Now, stretching your muscles, working your muscles, getting your heart rate up, all of this stuff is very important in dealing with stress because it allows oxygen, that crazy life-giving substance, to get to all of the places that it needs to be through blood flow, deeper breathing, etc. Now, oxygen, I don't know if you guys knew this, has an incredibly narcotic effect when it's used in high quantities. Yoga, exercise, meditation, all of these things utilize over-oxygenating your body to center yourself or to calm yourself down and bring you to a place where you're more capable of handling stress. I won't say comfortable, because trust me, holding a downward dog for 2.5 minutes is not comfortable. But it does a great job in making your legs hurt less when you're stressed. If you're new to working out, I would probably suggest starting out light, not doing what I did and jump right into an intermediate to advanced workout regimen. But exercise helps a lot. It also allows for proper neurotransmitter production in certain areas, because physical exercise like sunlight and chocolate and all these other things releases dopamine, serotonin, and occasionally neuroepinephrine. That's adrenaline, for those of you who aren't overly aware of that. And of course, adrenaline is something you want to try to avoid when you're stressed, unless, of course, you're doing a shock, unless you're shocking your system into invalidating stress responses, which is dangerous, by the way. Using adrenaline to compensate for other emotions, especially if it's anxiety or something like that, probably not a great idea. So don't go racing your car when you're in the middle of a messy divorce or anything just like that. Okay. Now, we'll talk on meditation for a minute, all right? Everybody thinks meditation, just because it's based in an Eastern theology, let's call it. Eastern, can't think of another word. I don't know. But okay, meditation is not always spiritual in nature. And that's where a lot of people get turned off, is they're all like, oh, this hippy dippy bullshit. They're just sitting there breathing their own BO. Ew. And that's not always the case. You can do an active meditation by doing mindful control of your breathing. Yes, literal manual breathing mode. You know, deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth. Hello and welcome to another Talks a Lot meditative experience. If you guys need a meditative experience, go check out the Talks a Lot meditative experiences, because the best thing you can do when you're stressed is laugh. Okay? And yeah, laughter is the best medicine. Stress causes a shitload of problems, and laughter kills stress. So escapism is amazing. Or, since you know your sense of humor better than anyone else in the entire world, and no one entertains us as much as we do, make your jokes. Laugh at yourself. Laugh for yourself. Laugh at other people so you can feel catharsis and relax. Namaste. You know? Now, another effective way of dealing with stress is quiet. Okay. When the human body is overloaded by noise on a constant, like many of us are these days, you have to be able to quiet things down. Hail to the Basco scenario. What's up, buddy? He's been killing it. Killing it. Is it THO? Is what you call your stuff over on Rumble? Is that what it was? Yeah, make sure you're subscribed and following Basco Scenario, by the way. I think it was THO. Basco Scenario says masturbation. So this is actually a tricky one, and we'll talk about this. I'm not afraid of talking about masturbation. I'm not some fucking school teacher or some school marm or just the hangout. Yes. See, I was right. The hangout. Yeah, THO. The hangout. Yeah, what's up, buddy? I don't comment or chat much on Rumble, but I do watch. Just saying. Now, masturbation, physical gratification as a stress relief. It works for some people, but guess what? Not actually the healthiest approach. Just like going out and having sex is not the healthiest approach when you're stressed out.
How can he say that? Oh my gosh. My whole life is ruined.
The problem that you run into with masturbation or physical gratification as a stress reliever is it is an addictive behavior. Anyway, now that's everybody knows this. You can become addicted to porn, you can become addicted to sex, you can become addicted to masturbation. But when you develop a psychological dependency on these things as a stress reliever, it can actually increase your stress outside of wherever it is you're rubbing it out. All right. And the reason for this is because sexual gratification causes one of the highest occurrences of neurotransmitter changes that you could actually find. Snail Messiah says, I found that a good BJ really takes the edge off. Also, an exercise and trust at the same time. You're not, yeah, dopamine. Yes, you're not wrong. But the problem there is your body can become dependent on that action to develop and release those types of neurotransmitters, those types of hormones, those types of feel-good drugs that naturally occur in your brain. And like with anything, too much leads to a decrease in the natural production thereof and a decrease in the overall health of your body. Now, of course, we see this occurrence happen with sleep aids. You become dependent on sleep aids. Your body can't naturally produce melatonin, so now you have to use the sleep aids in order to produce melatonin. Coffee. All right, coffee is a great example of this as well. Your body can't wake up without it. You can't function without it. You get a headache without it, stuff like that. You're physically dependent on that for your body to operate correctly on a chemical level. Same thing happens with drugs. Look at weed. Okay, look at weed. And this is why you shouldn't use drugs also as a stress reliever. Because they interrupt your body's natural flow of things. Okay, it's like putting a boulder in a river or putting a dam in a river. It fucks things up. Now, when it comes to sexual gratification, there are additional ramifications for over-relying on it as a stress reliever. This includes a decrease in emotional stability. If you've ever met anyone who's like a chronic masturbator, and they're really hard to identify because they don't just come out and say, yeah, I whack it like 30 times a day, bro. Yeah. But no, they will typically be more irritable, especially if they're a man. They'll be more irritable. They'll be much more risk-taking. They'll be higher on a risk-taking kind of thing because they need to feel that rush. They also have a decrease in interpersonal relationship quality because the hormone imbalance makes their brain not stop and think about things logically, etc., etc. And then on top of that, okay, I'm sorry, got a bubble stuck now. Got a bubble stuck. Gosh. Yeah, I lost my train of thought because I had a bubble stuck. Damn it. I was doing so good. Anyway, so another thing, let's just move on. We'll just move on. I'm going to take a rip of this. I'll make sure not to do it in your ear. Chemical intervention for stress relief should be a literal last resort. Like if you're in a full swing panic attack and you need to take an emergency dose of like, let's say Thorazine, that's not accurate, but like, you know, let's say you pop a couple Xanax because you're in the middle of a fucking attack. That's one thing. If you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, I feel a little tense, Xanny, you're fucking yourself up. Not only is that a sign of a dependency or addiction, but it is also a sign that your body is not regulating its own chemicals properly. Now, as I said in the description, stress doesn't only come from bad things, okay? Stress comes from good things as well. But stress, according to your body, is stress no matter what. So you're super excited about going on this trip, right? You and your family are finally getting out. Oh, yes. It's been 10 years and we have not had a vacation away from anyone. And we are finally getting out. Everyone's super excited. That excitation causes adrenaline. Adrenaline causes muscle tension. Muscle tension causes stress. Oh my. And you have to be able to manage good sources of stress as well as your bad sources of stress because they do interact with each other and then they combine and they eventually become this giant ball of I'm going to just like smack you over the head. Right? And And a lot of the same methods you use to manage bad stress, you can use to manage good stress. But good stress can be literally anything. You can be stressed out because you just got a new promotion, and while you're excited about it, you're worried about your performance. That's a good thing causing stress. You have a new girlfriend and you're not sure if she's going to like you very much once she gets to know the real you. That's a stress thing. Snail Messiah says, thank you. For some reason, the sound of vape pens goes straight to my disgust feeling, like people who eat with the open mouth and make no loud eating noises. I'm actually right there with you, dude. If this thing could be silent and not make that obnoxious noise, I would be a million times happier. I'd probably be a million times happier if I didn't have it, because this is a huge source of stress for me. And that's okay. Let's talk about that for a minute, okay? Nicotine, in general, increases your stress levels. It's a stimulant. It doesn't do anything to actually decrease your stress levels. What decreases your stress levels while you're having a cigarette or you're outside having a puff break on your vape is actually the deeper breaths you're taking because you're smoking. Are you getting oxygen? No. But it's actually the breathing that decreases the stress and your ability to take 7 to 10 minutes away from whatever's fucking with you while you're outside. You can do this without cigarettes. You can do this without nicotine. Not to sound like an old, out of date 90s commercial, but like, you don't need to do all this. Like, this stuff does not decrease stress. Recent studies have actually shown that this increases anxiety by roughly 20 to 30%. Yeah. Which means I should be a fucking ball of stressed out psychosis, but I'm not. You know why? Because I have learned the proper techniques for managing my stress. Now, one of my favorite ways to manage stress, and this is going counter to what everyone else in the entire world says, okay? One of my favorite ways to manage stress is beating the ever-loving fuck out of something. It's never another person. It's never an animal, because I have decency. I have a heavy bag. I have many pillows that I can beat the fuck out of. I technically beat the fuck out of myself when I'm doing my workouts, but that's different. But you can have that as an out. Just don't take it out on doors. Don't make sure that when you hit something, it's going to give a little. Okay? No, Vince. That's spoiler alert, like the wife. No. Don't hit your wife, dude. That's not okay. It's not okay. He says he's kidding. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm judging you, Vince. I'm judging you. Just kidding. I'm not judging you. I know you're joking because you put a laughing face at the end of it. Damn, spoil sport. Yeah. I am a spoil sport. You're not allowed to. No. But seriously, though, like, physical outlets are necessary. Violence is a natural part of the human existence. Excuse me. And I'm sick of people acting like that it's not. Violence, as long as it's controlled and directed towards, say, a punching bag, a pillow, stuffed animal, doesn't really matter as long as it's not a living creature and isn't going to inflict physical harm on you. It's fine. I'm probably the only psychologically trained individual in the entire world who will say that. Fucking let it out. Go to the dollar store and get yourself one of those inflatable clowns that are made for kids to beat the crap out of and beat the living shit out of it. Because honestly, it will help you feel better, depending on what your stress is. Some people like to visualize that it's another person. That actually creates a self-destructive loop. You don't want to do that. You want to just focus on it and let it out. See it for what it is. This is an inanimate object. I'm going to hit it because I can. It's perfectly natural. But Kyle, don't punch a hole in the wall. Okay? Seriously. Snail Messiah says nicotine makes the brain fire faster, which is why some smokers smoke more when engaging in a conversation. This is true. And that's one of the things that a lot of people with anxiety disorders, PTSD, paranoid personalities, and stuff like that really need to avoid is nicotine in general. Because of that making the brain fire faster. It being a stimulant makes it automatically not good for anxiety. That's like taking a gigantic bump of cocaine because you're stressed out. Doesn't make any fucking sense. All right. It's literally counterintuitive. Snail Messiah says boxing was amazing for getting it all out. Too tired after 3 hours of training to have stress. Also, boosted self-confidence, knowing I was dangerous, which made me calm the duck down. Um, I've always said that a man and women should be peaceful, but stay dangerous. This has nothing to do with stress, by the way. This is a completely unrelated topic, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Okay. A peaceful person is not someone who is afraid of violence. A peaceful person is an individual who is capable of great violence and chooses not to. A person who is afraid of violence is not peaceful. They are a coward. I can't remember who said that, but it's one of my favorite quotes. And it's a shame that I can't remember who said it. It really is. So if you're peaceful, then by my definition and by this wise man's definition, you are capable of great violence, but you make the conscious choice not to fulfill those urges and to seek out a peaceful life. Okay. As far as dangerous goes, if you're a man or a woman and you are not a dangerous individual, then you cannot be classified as a peaceful individual. Docile, sure. Peaceful, no. Like, you don't get this pretty with this crooked of a nose by being a coward and by being afraid of violence. I'm not saying I'm more of a man because I had a violent past, but it's humbled the fuck out of me in my present. Okay. It's also helped me realize how much stress I can let go. But going back to what Snail Messiah said, when you physically exert yourself to the point that you're too tired to be stressed, that's a good thing. But again, you have to moderate that so that you can still deal with your life. Because making yourself too tired to have the stress doesn't make the stress go away, especially the sources thereof. Because the sources of stress are constant. They're constant. Sometimes they change shape and source, but they're constant. Everyone's constantly worried about money. Everyone's constantly worried about relationships and work and their cars breaking down all the fucking time because the American auto industry decided to have a giant conspiracy of making shitty ass fucking parts and stop using real steel at some point. So you'd have to spend even more money on stupid crap. We all stress about various things, but the most important thing to remember about stress is that it's your choice to respond to it. Okay? Just think about how much reaction is actually automatic. I've been dealing with one of the most stressful years of my life. And have I broken down? Absolutely. Has it beaten me into a bloody pulp? Multiple times. But I'm still sitting here. I'm still smiling because I recognize that 60% of my stress isn't my problem. I choose to get stressed about something that isn't actually important, like opinions on the internet, subscriber counts, Whether or not roommates are going to find other places to live. Okay. Stuff like that. That's stressful, but it's not actually my problem. It's not. It's a choice that they get to make, and that has been made, and then that's that. Because if you're stressing out over a choice someone else made, you're literally stressing out about something you have no control over. You can offer some friendly advice, but you have absolutely no control over whether or not another person is doing something stupid. So why would you stress about it? The only thing you have control of, 110% control of, is inside here. Okay. It takes a fuckload of work. And that's why most people are just giant balls of stress, because they don't understand you actually have to put in the work to get the results. Hey, Snail Messiah says, a harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control. Jordan Peterson. He says, but I'm sure he got that from somewhere else. Probably. Everybody likes to steal and adapt. Borrow and adapt. My bad. But you have to realize that if your stress is coming because of another person's actions and choices, then you're stressing unnecessarily. If those choices and actions directly affect you, then you're still dealing with a choice situation. How are you going to respond to this stimuli? Are you going to let it ride on your shoulders and give you a tension headache? Are you going to let it twist your guts up so that you're puking and shitting all over the place? Are you going to take 5 to 7 incredibly deep breaths and push it out? Are you going to take that stress and turn it into a motivator? Are you going to try to help this person? Because if you're going to try to help that person deal with their stress, you're electing to make that stress your stress. And if you do help that person, you have to be able to be the person who's not bogged down by the stress so much that you can't think straight. And then you also have to ask yourself one of the most important questions you could ever ask yourself regarding a relationship, regarding an interaction with another person. How important is this person to you? Because I got to tell you, we worry about a lot of unimportant people. We do. We stress about a lot of people that don't actually matter a single fucking bit to us. Like, I know people that stress about their cousins and their uncles and their aunts and like all this shit. And it's like, they are not your responsibility. If they want to be stupid, let them be stupid. To use an old Jewish or Yiddish prayer, however you want to say that, Lord bless them and keep them far away from me. It's a simple spell, but quite effective. Just saying. Because ultimately, as Marcus Aurelius has pointed out numerous times in the past, the only thing you have control over is how you react. And that's the one thing that you should never let anyone strip you of. You have to recognize that even when people are being reactionary or antagonistic, they're fulfilling that to deal with their own stress in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they're stressed about a self-image issue, so they belittle other people to make themselves feel bigger. That person's not only a stupid little bitch, but they're also incredibly stressed out and trying to feel good about themselves, but don't have the proper coping mechanisms to deal with it, thus making them a stupid little bitch. Don't let people trigger you, because your triggers are under your control. Unless, of course, you have an outlying, extenuating circumstances. And of course, every person's life is different. Every person's situation is different. So none of this universally applies, but it's all hopefully something that you can think about and be able to handle. You know? Vince says, speaking of driving while stressed and laughing, meme. All right, we'll look at another meme. John Edgar, though, he says, this was some good advice today. Thank you. I was hoping to at least be able to share something and not have it sound like complete asinine stupidity just boiling up from the mind of sleep deprived, nicotine addicted psych. All right. Anyway. Vince Womack over on the Gilded side. When you're being the third wheel and the couple starts arguing, but suddenly the guy accelerates and screams, I don't give a fuck if we die. Whoa. yeah. That rabbit should absolutely be terrified. That was a good one, man. That was a good one. And one other thing I'll say about the stress before I start winding down and start moving on with things. Oh, wow. I thought I was going crazy. But John Edgar over on the Ko-Fi side, he says, thanks for the insights. It is most appreciated for $3. Thank you, sir. That $3 will actually help a lot. Like, you have no idea. You have no idea. I've got things planned, but I am slowly building up to. Man, trust me, $3 is a big help. That being said, this winter is going to be crazy for me. It's going to be busy. You know why it's going to be busy? Because I'm teaching myself new things, and that's stressful. Yeah, I'm going to be teaching myself how to play the piano, and to the shock, awe, and fear of everyone in my house, I am going to be refreshing my skills with these. Yep, I know. People are like, he's a weeb. Oh my gosh, whatever. I used to be really, really, really good with these. Okay. And this is my favorite sword. As I said in the song, maybe I'll show you my favorite sword. This is it. I've shown it before. It's my Angel Maker. It's got a bell on it. Yep. That's just one of two. My other one is far more decorative, but it's still pretty fun. I'll show you. Yeah. Golden Cobra head sword. Properly weighted, 440 stainless. At least 440 stainless. This thing is, I've had this specific katana since I was 11. So like 20 years I've had this katana. And it's cheap, but this thing is the most durable sword I've ever owned. I was screwing around with that katana one time. I accidentally dropped it on my bed when I was a teenager, and it went straight through my fucking mattress. And the box spring. But it, like, literally, I dropped it, and the blade made... and the handle was sticking out of my bed. I'm like, wow. Okay. But, yeah. Snail Messiah says, I went to a HEMA club in Copenhagen and got some nice pics to put in my portfolio. I love sword fighting. It's so elegant. I love the elegance of sword fighting, but I also love the discipline that it teaches you. When I got my first sword, I was a stupid idiot. And I was like, I'm going to swing this thing around. And the guy that gave it to me literally got in my face and was like, do you want to chop your fucking leg off? Don't be an idiot. I don't have a kendo teacher, but I am going to be going through kendo stuff. It's technically going to be self-taught, but more of like a refresher. It's the footing. It's the footing that always throws me off. I go for the proper strikes and I go for the proper stances, but my feet are like, we're not gonna do that. No. And then I'm fucked. But yeah, Hema means historical European martial arts. Man, if I could go learn like fencing, proper rapier work, I would love to be able to use my rapier that I have. I don't have the physical strength to use my longsword. I'm not afraid to admit that because it's a Conan reproduction of something from Conan. Technically, it's not, but it is. Like, fuck it. Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. John Edgar says, big dick energy right there. Yeah, if you say so. Snail Messiah says, do some dancing, Cory. It will help your footwork a lot. I've always wanted to take up more dancing. I took classical ballroom dancing when I was younger, but I never really kept at it, John Edgar says, if it's the Conan repro I'm thinking of, sucker weighs 8 pounds, which is ludicrous for a sword. It's not your fault. Okay, this thing is a 12.5-pound cheap ass wannabe Conan the Barbarian sword, but I love it. It's heavy as shit, but this is my favorite feature. Yeah, snakehead dagger. It's total reference to Conan, but yeah, it's also, I need to do some maintenance on this blade here, but yeah, this thing is fucking ridiculous. All right, like, but then of course, don't hurt anything. Nope. Almost hurt the wall. That's not good. This is my reproduction of the Three Musketeers rapiers. I got this really cheap at a knockoff sword shop. Something happened to the sheath that it's not, but I would love to be able to use this thing properly. Just totally whacked the ceiling. But yeah, I'm used to two-handed sword techniques more than anything else. Anyway. He says, as they said in the 13th Warrior, the sword is too heavy. Grow stronger then. Indeed, grow stronger. But ladies and gentlemen, we're past the hour mark, and I need to go do some grocery shopping, so I'm going to bounce. Catch me tonight on Dick's News US, or the Dinos, as I like to call it. And, of course, on Monday Meltdown, whatever we're calling it. We'll be there to talk about the third chapter, the third act of the Continental. And spoiler alert, I loved it. I thought it was good. But anyway, we'll talk more about that tonight. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, hey, Henry Cavill did a portion of his training while he was Witcher on Men's Health. Hell yeah, that's awesome. But anyway, stay sexy, don't get murdered. And as always, have a wonderful time. Bye.